Hello, and thank you for watching Swan TV. Usually on this programme, Lee Ellery is presenting the programme, but today Lee has asked me to turn the tables on him. So it's Keith Milward turning the spotlight on Lee Ellery today, and I feel I'm in the hot seat for a change, Lee. You know, how does this feel to you, being on the receiving end of being interviewed?
Well, it feels strange.
I'm sure.
Because normally I'm in your position asking the questions, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. But by the end, I'm sure we'll have a good product.
Well, I'm sure, because Lee and I have been friends for many years, and it's not just through Swan TV that we have met. But mentioning Swan TV, this brand new news, isn't it, that you are now have been given a special position within Swan TV. Please tell us.
Yes, as of the December the 4th, I think it was, I became a director of Swan TV, to have a say in the decisions that go on a daily basis, not in terms of financial. I said that from the start, but I wanted to make sure that obviously disabled people's views and voices were heard. So in discussions with Mike and Brian, we come to the decision of appointing me as a non-executive director.
Well, congratulations, Lee, you know, because you're already doing so much regarding disability awareness, and you've continued to do so. But with this programme, we're going to sort of find out about Lee Ellery, the real Lee Ellery, from how you started, and we'll find out how you've got to this position today. And I think we'd go back to when you were in school, because you were in a local primary school, is that right?
Yeah, local primary school, not too far from here, Keith. Always been in mainstream education, despite what the authorities wanted to do when I was first of school age. They wanted to put me into a special school, special unit, they
Yes.
call them now. But my mum in particular didn't want that.
No.
She wanted me to have the best education that I could have, and whether it be in mainstream education with support, if that's what I was allowed to have, then that's what I was having. And
Yes.
that's what my mother wanted.
Well, that's great. And of course, you know, you were born with cerebral palsy, quadriplegic, cerebral palsy affecting each of the limbs, and sometimes even the muscles for speaking. But you do amazingly well, and I think you're a wonderful example to what you can do. Despite setbacks then, you know, so, but I know you then went to secondary school, and again you were integrated in secondary school.
Yeah.
And that was in?
I went to Dillon Llewellyn, which is now Dillon Thomas School, as we both know.
Yes.
I would say that was the best time of my life in comprehensive school, because I got integrated into everything. I didn't even go into any units. I was doing my studies with a support worker, supported me throughout. But what I really liked about that school was the music department, Keith, and it's where my love for music first began. I remember going into the music room, and we both know the music teacher at the time, Lynn Mackay.
Oh yes, of course,
well known.
Yes.
And she was looking for new choir members. And I immediately thought to myself, if I ask to join, would they have a problem with it because of my disability? Because at that time, Keith, I wasn't as confident as I am now, because I didn't have the background of disability awareness with me like I have now.
No, so coming on to that. But of course, you know, I think you were very bold and very courageous then, you know, to ask.
Yeah.
And I'm so very pleased that you were included, because I know how strong your passion is for music and drama. But we'll come on to that a little later, because your other passion is politics as well, and I think that's what's quite amazing, you know, once we realised that about Lee Ellery. You had more problems though when you went to college, didn't you, Lee?
Yeah, in college, Keith, as I just said, I'd gone through school through a mainstream education route.
Yes.
And in college, in Tico College as it was then, they immediately put you into the special needs department.
Yes, and you again, your mum had to sort of battle with getting you on the correct course, because at the time you were wanting to study. Please tell us.
Well, I didn't really know what I wanted to study then, but I realised after a short while of being in the special needs department that it wasn't for me.
No.
And the upshot of it was, I took a year out of college because I couldn't cope with being somewhere where I'd already been, like in nursery school type thing. That's what they were teaching you, like to learn from nursery.
Well, the basics then.
The basics, yeah.
When you had already proved yourself.
I'd already proved myself. I'd been to school, college, but then I took a year out and I thought, I'm going to have a look at the college prospectus, which I did.
Yes.
And eventually I enrolled myself on a business studies course, which was 3 years long. Coming out of there, believe it or not, with distinctions for the whole 3 years.
Well, that's commendable, and but it wasn't quite as straightforward as that, because when you were being examined, and not everyone believed you could do so well, so you actually had invigilators sitting in when you were doing the examination.
Yeah, this is a story that I want to share. When I did my exams, initially I did them on my own. Yes. with my support worker supporting me with all my writing and things. But then the people in the department that I'd left, the special needs department, when they realized that I was going to get my exam results on the day that they came out.
Yes.
And I went back past their office and told them that I had a distinction for the first year.
Yes.
Bearing in mind now that I was in a room on my own, not in normal exam conditions, yes, which you would know very well. And I said to them I had the distinction for my first year, and they immediately said, "Oh, you must have been cheating."
Because this was many years ago, and of course T-Coch, which has evolved now into Gower College, isn't it? But this is quite an eye-opener, showing us how life was, particularly for those with disability, going back, say, 25 years ago, isn't it? You know, it's but thank you for sharing that with us, Lee.
No, you're welcome.
Yes, but you, these days, of course, you are employed, and you're employed by the Shaw Trust.
Yeah.
Now, so please tell us what you're actually doing within the Shaw Trust.
I am employed by the Show Trust Accessibility Service, which assesses websites to make sure they're accessible for all disabled people to use despite their impairment. So for example, for me, I'm testing websites on keyboard functionality.
Right.
Because I'm employed as a keyboard tester.
Ah.
They call it keyboard only testing, which
Yes.
means you can only use the keyboard to test. But there are other people in the team that test for people with visual impairment,
Right.
color contrast,
Yes.
and there's different people in the team doing different testing, but we're all trying to get the same results for everyone. And these are not companies that just come willy-nilly to us. They're companies from the FTSE 100 catalogue. So it's people like Virgin Media and big companies like that would come to us, have their website tested, and yeah, I enjoy it very much.
And within the Show Trust, you're looking at the social disability from a wider angle as well, aren't you? Because there's looking at all aspects of living with disability. And I was very impressed because you've had some very good guests on your programme where this has been mentioned. You know, please tell us about the guests before we come back to the social model for disability. You know, please tell us the most eminent guests that you've had. On In the Spotlight, of course.
Well, I'm gonna have to say it because it was one of the nerve-wracking shows that I've ever done, but interviewing the leader of Swansea was an eye-opener for me.
The leader of Swansea Council, then, Rob Stewart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I've worked because of my activism. I've been involved with Rob since year dot, and to hear what he was saying on camera to me as a disabled person and speaking to me, showing that the City and County of Swansea want to do things for people with disabilities. I actually showed that with great intent.
Was there anything in particular that he focused on that said that he was wanting to improve?
He said that he wanted disabled people themselves through the new hub in the museum in Swansea to start engaging more with the council.
Right.
And he said if disabled people don't tell them their issues, basically, they can't improve.
Right, right. And of course, your programme is normally at the Waterfront Museum in Swansea, and but today we are at your home where you're living with your mother and your father, and it's good to see, though, that you have had such wonderful guests at the Swansea Museum, and you've also spoken to Jane Hutt, haven't you? You know,
yeah,
because that was at a conference.
Yeah.
So please say more.
That was at Disability Wales' annual conference early on, just before Christmas, actually. I took In the Spotlight on the road for the very first time, and we went up to Cardiff, and one of the first people I interviewed actually was the Minister for Social Justice and Equality at the Welsh Government, Jane Hutt.
And Chief Whip.
And Chief Whip now, of course.
Yes, yes.
On the work of the Disability Rights Task Force. of which I'm a part of.
Yes,
And
yes.
have been since its inception, since the locked out report was published on the 2nd of July 2021.
So tell us about the task force and possibly bring in the social model of disability.
The task force was formed after the locked out report was written, because the First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, realised that there was a lot of areas that needed improving, and they could, as a government, they couldn't do any of that without the support of people with disabilities. So it was under the direction of Mark and his officials that the task force was created.
Right.
And the initial things that we were looking at were transport, health, equality, fairness for everyone.
Education.
Education. Yes, you name it. It's all there and all still being talked about today, because the task force won't finish. We don't know what form it'll take in the next year or two, because things may change, but the whole ethos of it is to help the Disability Action Plan be better written.
What Jane had seemed to be saying is that, there's so many aspects of the social model, and, once you are looking at things like health and care issues, there's education, training, employment, there's, it's like spinning plates but the social model is trying to look at all aspects of living with a disability.
The social model of disability, Keith, is intertwined through every working group that we have within the task force.
Yes.
It's integral that people coming on to, like new members of the task force, government officials, it's integral that they take disability social model training, which is provided by Disability Wales, which is the Welsh Government of funding. So yeah, I think all power to Welsh Government for recognising the issues originally brought out by the locked out report and doing what they can to improve them.
Well, one of the things that you were very keen to try to address is the image of disability within the media. And I think you've done a great deal of work with the help of Swan TV, to change that image. It's you feel that there's only very few role models that are shown in national television, etc.
Yeah.
Please say more.
On that point, Keith, you wouldn't think it, but when we're thinking of disability, I'll give you a statistic now that you wouldn't believe, but 67% of people are still afraid of talking to people with disabilities, and that was a recent statistic out of a survey from Scope.
That's quite shocking, really, isn't it?
And people are still afraid to talk to people like myself with disabilities. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how we combat that,
yes.
But definitely within the Show Trust, we are trying to combat it,
yes.
by doing stuff with the staff networks that we have. So, if I may say, I'm the chair of the co-chair of the Disability Equality Network for the staff in the show trust, to come, and if they've got any problems, we talk to the board as chairs, and we try and come up with solutions to fix them.
Yes, because if you think of the national televisions, very few people come to mind who have been presenters who have had or still have a disability. I'm thinking of Nikki Fox,
yeah.
Yes, and there's the Nigerian presenter as well, but we're struggling even to come up with 2 or 3, you know. So it's that's quite an eye opener. And what you're saying, you know, it's quite surprising. And perhaps I should share how we first got to know each other. That I was working as a careers guidance counsellor, careers advisor within Penarole School, and we ended up on one of these days where the pupils were off timetable, and there were different speakers and different activities going on, and you were then representing the equality of disability, and I was there talking about aspects of leaving school and work experience, etc. And at the lunchtime we were together, and I remember, I suppose, even confessing my own speaking to you, but when I came up to talk to you, and I thought, well, I will respond to you, you know, wondering whether how much help I needed, or how to direct my speech, you know, where to break down my speech. But once I'd spoken to you for about 2 minutes, I realised I was speaking to somebody as intelligent as myself, if not even more intelligent than myself. And I feel that should you not have had the disability, goodness knows where you'd be now, possibly even Prime Minister, and you do a better job than many. But where did this confidence in speaking start, Lee, you know, that you are such a great model?
I'm going to be honest and say it started back in 2003. I had the bug for... I was picked from a local Swansea group, Interplay, which is a group for people with disabilities to be integrated into activities for...
They've evolved into rising stars these days,
yeah.
And they, yes, Interplay now just rising stars.
So yeah, Interplay used to fund Rising Stars, but it was through them that we were approached by this organisation that were putting this conference on, asking for 3 young people from different groups around Swansea and from Pembroke and the like. And I went to this conference, and there was people there from all over the world. And just before I forget, the conference was held in Swansea University.
It was back in 2003, I believe, wasn't it?
It was in 2003, and what an eye-opener. And I say an eye-opener because there was people there from all over the world. And the way I describe it, I think we were talking earlier on in the week, and the way I describe it was like as if we may speak different languages, we may come from different cultures, but we all have the same issues.
Across the world with the image of disability.
And it's that for me that made me want, because they asked us what we wanted to take back to our home nations. And I said, it's this for me that I want to take back and instill in Wales to make Wales a better place for people with disabilities. And that's why I do what I do outside of my work with
Well, you're
Show Trust.
definitely doing that.
That's why I do my work within the Spotlight with Lee Ellery. that's why I do everything I do.
Well, and yes, so it comes back to that conference really back in 2003, and we should say that we've worked on theatre together. That I realise your passion for the theatre and with music, and you even were part of a production of Godspell, which was a goal for you.
It was a goal, because going back to our first ever meeting in Penrowell, I said to you then, I came into the conversation and I picked up that you were talking about musical theatre. So I gently introduced myself and I said, I'm Lee Ellery, I'm interested in musical theatre, I've always had a passion for it. I would like to, in the future, maybe not now, I would like to do a piece of theatre integrated where disabled people and the able-bodied come together and put a big show on.
And that is what we achieved, wasn't it, back in 2013 now. But I think that we should thank Swan TV for all that has been happening with you, not only being involved heavily with your presenting on In the Spotlight, but I feel we have a special celebration now that you are one of the directors, and I want to wish you well. I want you to build on the wonderful program you already have. You've interviewed people like Kieran Fitzgerald, you've interviewed disabled actors, and please keep up the good work, and thank you to the team of Swan TV for making this happen. Please keep listening to Swan TV, keep watching Swan TV, and we're wanting to give some contact details for you, Lee, and the landline to contact Lee, it's Swansea, which is 01792 439 018. Your mobile, Lee, is 07866 261 237, and you have email addresses as well. All lowercase, In the Spotlight with Lee Ellery at gmail.com, or lowercase again, Swan TV Disability Correspondent at gmail, I should say, at gmail.com. Thank you, Lee, and thanking you. You've been watching Keith Milward turning the spotlight on the great Lee Ellery. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Keith.